Hello, all, and welcome back to another episode of TV and Us, a conversation show about the TV series we just can't stop talking about. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
Each season, we focus on a different show, reviewing it episode by episode, and we invite you to watch along with us. Today, we are reviewing Succession Season 4, and we are on Episode 4, Honeymoon States. If you haven't watched it yet, this is your spoiler alert. Please check it out before continuing to listen. All right, Sarah, let's start off with IMDb summary for Episode 4.
As the Waystar team discusses a pivotal recommendation to the board, Roman, Kendall, and Shiv navigate a misstep with Matsson.
All right. And let's kick off the conversation with what you would name this episode. What's your episode title of choice?
I would name it Roses and Rotting Corpses.
Nice. Yes. Yes, that's right. In reference to a line that who says?
I don't even know who said that. Maybe Tom.
It was good.
But it was a good line. There were a few good lines in this one that I had as options, but I think that was my favorite.
Yes. My choice for episode title is Demolition Derby.
Ooh, well done. Yes.
Shiv says, they're all in there for the coronation demolition derby. The games have begun indeed. Okay. Let's start off with our initial thoughts of episode 4. We're coming off a pretty big episode from last week, and the game board has now begun to move. What are your thoughts on this episode?
Yeah. To me, this felt similar to the first episode in the season because this huge thing just happened and everything has changed, and now we need to know where all of the pieces are. We need to know where all the players are. And so this was a very good insight into what everybody's thinking, what moves they're making, and we're starting to, like you said, like see some things shift and people are starting to make their move. And so it was great to see a little further into the mind of each character. And it really is doing a good job at setting up whatever is coming next.
Yeah, and one thing that I thought was pretty smart for this episode to do is it gives us some insight into maybe some of the alliances, the collaborations between some of these characters, but they're none of them are too surprising, and I think that helps set up the slow burn and the build to some of those bigger plot points, especially after episode 3, with so much the whole world for these people have just been blown up, and this felt like a level setting. Like, okay, let's just spend time in this apartment with all of these people and just see them have these conversations with each other and get a sense for, like, okay, let's catch our breath a little bit and really like level set for what will come next. This felt like a stabilizing episode in a lot of ways. And I think the other thing that I felt throughout a lot of this episode is how different it was in tone compared to episode 3, which was incredibly somber and obviously incredibly emotional. And this one brings back a lot more of the lightheartedness, some of the quippy one-liners and the comments. Like, we very much see the characters operating and how they interact with each other, especially the siblings. So I thought that was a smart choice to give us that kind of like moment to breathe and stabilize as we head on into more that's coming. And they did a good job at the tail end of giving us things to look forward to, the rise of Kendall.
Mm-hmm. And a little rise of Roman. Yeah. So we might get to see more of the rise of Roman. Just for you, Jen.
Just for me. Yes. I mean, the episode ends with them two being named like I think Kendall's CEO, but Roman's like right there with him and as his number 2. And I thought that was smart because it kind of is like it's episode 4. We've got so much more plot to unfold. And this isn't too surprising. The crew of outsiders haven't made any big strategic moves yet. So I think everyone's kind of like, all right, let's let's see this play out, and there's time to continue to build. So I appreciate this
Mhm.
episode didn't try and do too much and give us another like whirlwind episode where there's a lot of backstabbing and whatnot. Like we needed this moment to just observe these people and stabilize for a hot sec.
Yeah, yeah, and there's plenty of time for the kids to do something insane, or uh for the rest of the crew to like throw a grenade into the mix and just see what happens. So there's lots of fun potential for what could happen uh in Kendall's what second go around at the helm. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, there's a lot of callbacks to the very first episode from season 1, the opener for this entire show, where they're in the same apartment, a lot of the same rooms, and again we see that almost similar hunger from Kendall to be the successor. And in a lot of ways, like he's gone on such a journey throughout the course of the show. The highs were high, the lows were low, so many ups and downs. And in some weird way, we're kind of in the same similar place that we started in. A lot's happened since, and the dynamics have totally shifted. But we see the same Kendall that we've seen in the past that has that drive and that ambition and that fire back again. He's
And
here.
I love that we see the softer side too. And you know, like we see those insecurities. Like he has that conversation with Frank and he's
Yes.
like, did my dad really want me? And so you see that like tenderness and that vulnerability. And I love that a few times in this episode, somebody asks Kendall, like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, don't you remember how this went last time? And every time Kendall is like, yeah, but I feel like there are moments of hesitation before he says yes. And he's like considering what he's stepping into now, where I feel like earlier Kendall was like, nah, man, I can do anything. This is mine. I'm going to take it. But now he's really, I feel like,
Mm,
considering the cost of
mm.
this, and is actually stepping into this maybe a little bit more self aware and more awareness of who is around him and the fight that he's taking on. At least that's my reading of it. I could have been totally reading way more into this, but I like to believe that he has matured a little bit in making this decision.
There's growth. There's growth. Yay. Yeah. No, I think that's true. I think that's true. There's a little bit more self-awareness that he has, a little bit more wisdom, at least awareness of the stakes. Yeah, because I think in episode 1, he's just like like bullish, barreling through, just raw fire, raw ego fueling him. And there's something that's decidedly different this time around.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Little older, little wiser, been through a lot. So we'll see what this version of Kendall looks like now.
Yep. Let's talk about relating to Kendall since we're on the topic of him. The genius little device that the this episode has placed, which is the piece of paper with the pencil markings and the ambiguity around if his name is crossed out or underlined. I've seen so many people post about this. So it's just great internet buzz, which is smart by the creators, but also for every character in this circle and for Kendall himself too. That question, was it underlined or was it crossed out, was just so creative and um, so clever to do. I'm curious where you land, or if you care, on either side of your vote. But I'm curious about the way that the, the really the events unfold surrounding that piece of paper and what that means and how they use it in PR, for example, and messaging, and it's just such a significant object in this episode.
Yeah, I love that it was Logan's. I view it as like Logan's final way of like screwing with his kid. Uh, and like, I'm not a great underliner. Sometimes my underlines end up, you know, overlapping with the word a little bit, but wow, I feel like that was such an intentional move to do half underline, half crossed out. So I was just like, props to you, Logan, for still messing with people even after you're dead. It was a real nice move on his part.
Ah, so you interpret it as it was fully intentional.
Oh, 1,000%.
Mm,
Yeah, I believe that Logan was that
crafty.
cunning and
Mm-hmm.
that, yeah, he loved to mess with people whenever he could, especially Kendall.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. One thought that I did have was depending on where this Rise of Kindle goes, it would be interesting to just watch back the previous seasons and see if there's so much that Logan did that was part of the just training and preparation for Kendall or any of the other two kids as well. Um, like I'm thinking back to the scenes where he sends the birthday card and or just nudges Kendall to like just buy out, take your money and leave. And he's like creating these situations where he can watch what the kids will do, how they operate, how they strategize. And all of those in some ways could be just all setups from him. Like he's orchestrating all of these events to be able to observe the way that those three kids will operate and which have that same instincts and strategies and innovative thinking that he's looking for. It'd be fun to watch the season through that lens, or the previous seasons through that lens. But interesting that you
Mhm.
interpreted it as definitely intentional with confidence.
Yeah, yeah. How did you see it?
Uh, I I think I was more focused on how much this creates like this questioning, but also this like hope in Kindle that maybe his father really did believe in him, or maybe not, and just the like anguish that would cause. I just think is so fascinating because we see Kindle desire for that so much. I mean, the other kids too, of course, but we know that Kindle would fixate on it. And he does. He's like staring at this iPhone, mobile phone taken photo of that. Just like you feel the anguish in the debate that he has and his desire to seek the external validation. So, my perspective is I think that like there isn't really a reason to underline it. So, I think it's crossed out. But that's where my vote is. I don't have a strong feeling either way. I think it's more interesting what that does for the character.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a great plot device and it shows us so much about who Kendall is and his insecurities, and at the end of the day he really just wanted his dad to love him and be proud of him, and so like he was doing all of these things, he was trying to achieve all of these things to make his dad proud. And so it was just a great moment of reinforcing that which we've already seen over all these past seasons. It was great. Who knew? A document with an underline slash crossed out couple of words could do so much in one show.
It's genius writing, honestly. So good. And what's also really great about that scene is that it's Shiv who casts the doubt that it's potentially crossed out. Carl, Frank, Jerry have all seen that document, and none of them think with that lens, think more cleverly, think a little bit outside of the box, or at least just sow the doubt, even if maybe Shiv doesn't even believe it, but just the casting that little doubt is a great card for her to play. And I love that she is the one that recognizes that and reframes what that could mean. I just thought that was really fitting for the character as well. A great character moment for Shiv.
Yeah, she comes out swinging. And I was like,
Mhm.
yes, you go, girl.
None of
You.
the outsiders, I feel bad calling them outsiders. None of the other folks in the crew uh think that way. They see what they see, and it's a little bit more on the nose, a little bit more literal, but her brain just like operates in this different dimension, which was really cool to see, and that they gave her that moment. It's fitting for her. Roman too doesn't think about that. He's more focused on like, well, this isn't like legally sound, all that kind of stuff. He's focused on other things, but Shiv is the one that's like, well, actually.
Yeah, I think the we need to come up with a better word than the outsiders, but that other core group, I viewed them as trying to be more savvy and like, okay, we're going to pick one kid that we think that we can go up against, basically, because they know
Mm.
Kendall's issues with Logan. They know how Kendall ran the business before, how he is very impulsive and can cause a lot of issues. Like Shiv even says it later that he's kind of like the worst of both worlds. And I wonder if the outsiders were kind of banking on that and like wanting to interpret this document in that way to puff Kendall up so that he'd be shot down by the board. That's kind of how I read them, as a little bit more scheming, maybe. Because if they shot down Kendall, then they could have Jerry right there to take over. So that's kind of how I viewed that, which might be giving them a little bit more cutthroatness than they're capable of. But I thought that there was a lot more going on in that conversation than what was on the surface.
I think so because the two men, Frank and Carl, are kind of joking about like, oh, should we if you accidentally drop
Yeah.
this. I loved that dialogue, by the way. They're like, in a comedic sense, in a humorous tone.
Yeah, it was so good.
It was so great. Uh, but I have no doubt that either of those men would be fully capable. If it was in their best interest, yeah, get rid of it, burn it, shove it down the toilet. Like I wouldn't put it past them to do that. So the fact that they choose to keep that in play and that we see them use that later on as a little bit part of the PR and the public messaging around the board's decision, I thought that was probably intentional. I mean,
And I
this is more interesting if they're all far more cunning,
mhm,
you know? So
yeah,
we should see them that way.
absolutely. And I do wonder what changes they made to that document, because
The pencil
Logan did
markings.
stuff in pencil.
Hmm.
So, did they make any changes to that? That's what I really wanna know.
Did they put the
Yeah,
underline cross out
yeah,
line on there?
yeah. Did they erase something? Did they add something in? Like, I don't
Mm.
know.
Hmm.
If they are as cunning as we think they are capable of being, they might have done something like that, which would be
Hmm.
so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It in a way, this object, the significance of this object feels like the beginning of a mystery. Like everything starts with something that's discovered and everyone around shifts and moves based on that thing, that discovery, and what they choose to do with it. So that's like a fun little dimension that they're weaving in there. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, we'll see what comes next from this one piece of paper.
Hmm. So your boy Tom, your least favorite character,
Freaking
Tom.
Tom. Oh
Tom
my
is doing the
God.
most in this, but the entire episode I was like, yeah, this is not earning any points in Sarah's book for Tom. He's making the rounds.
Hmm.
It's
He is
fascinating to
making the
watch.
rounds. Yes. And it's just amazing to me. I mean, Tom's probably not going to ever get any points in my book because we're on season 4 and he hasn't got any in my book. So it's probably too little too late. But it was so interesting to watch him try and take an angle with everybody and do it so poorly. It just makes me wonder, like, how did he get involved with this crew at all? Like, how did you weasel your way into Shiv's life? How did you manage this? Because he's not very smooth at all. It was painful to watch.
Yeah, that's what I really felt during this episode too, is just the lack of tact that he has. I was hoping that after so many seasons and years and being around this crew that he can play that a little bit to his advantage. The way that earlier in the series, I was like, what if Greg is just secretly so strategic and he's playing this card to be unassuming where he seems clueless, but actually he's weaseling his way in. No, he's just an idiot. And I think the same is true about Tom. I think it'd be more fun if he was a lot more sneaky and strategic, but I don't think he is. He's grasping for anything that he can get at this point.
Yeah, you can really feel the desperation from
Yes.
him.
Yes. And I think it's so low of him to make a play at Shiv in the way that he does, like playing the nostalgia card, like, oh, do you remember back when we first met each other?
Mhm.
Knowing she's in an incredibly vulnerable state. Her father passed yesterday or the day before yesterday. Like, it just, it's so slimy. And a lot of these characters do awful things, but that just feels like so low to prey on somebody at such a vulnerable state in time. I mean, Shiv's strong and she can handle, she's aware and rejects him in a lot of ways, but man, what a low blow to go for that.
Yeah, he's gross.
Yeah.
And to make it all worse, Shiv is pregnant,
Yeah. What are your
presumably
thoughts on
with
that?
Tom's kid. So in the first episode, there was that moment when they're both in their apartment together, and I was like, oh, don't have like a lovey-dovey moment together because then she's gonna get pregnant and I'm gonna be upset. And so when Shiv like rejects him that first episode, I was like, oh, we're gonna go a different direction. This is great. So I was annoyed that they made Shiv pregnant. I know that they'll write it in well, uh, but I was hoping that this show wouldn't go there, but oh well, they did. And that the actress is pregnant in
Yeah.
real life, so
Yeah.
I get it. You sometimes have to write those things in, but that was not the news that I wanted to hear in this particular episode, but I know they'll handle it well. So I'm sure it'll be an an interesting and exciting added dimension to this final season.
For what they do with this and what that means for the dynamic between her and Tom. Yeah, I saw some internet theories with Carrie that some people think that Carrie's pregnant. I don't know. I don't know if there's enough evidence really there for that, but I was like, we cannot have the main drama for the few female characters in the show both be around pregnancy. Like, we cannot do that.
Mhm.
I would be so upset. I trust the show enough not to do that. But that that would not look that would not be good. Yeah, I wasn't too pleased about it either. It's as one of the strongest, if not the strongest female character in this show. Um, it is. I hope that there's just more to it than just the pregnancy. That there's more that they give to her and her arc and all of that stuff, and then this. So we'll see what they do with it. We shall see.
Yes. Yes, we shall.
Yeah, definitely throws an interesting wrench to this whole thing.
Yeah.
And when she fell too, I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, is that how they're gonna take this in a different direction?
Yeah.
With her losing the baby potentially when she fell and made impact. I don't know. We'll see. But
Mhm.
um, yeah, okay. Other moments that stood out.
Uh, do you want to talk about Carrie and her appearance in this episode?
Yeah, Carrie and Marsha.
Oh, Marsha, yes! I was so excited to see her back. I'm here for
Yeah,
it.
she's savage. She's
She
savage in
is.
this.
Oh, it's
It
so
is.
good.
I think I liked her character a lot more until this episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The we often see what's interesting about the show is there's this like these groups of drama that's happening, right? And there's like a moment between Willa and Marsha, and then there's the moment between Marsha and Carrie. It's like these women that are on the peripherals of these powerful people and the drama that happens between them. And the I've related with Roman. Here's another moment where I'm going to gush about Roman, but Roman calls out Marcia for being like pretty distasteful in the way that she completely just
Mhm.
like looks down on and makes those comments about Carrie. And again, the people on the show suck and do a lot of bad things, but the just utter disdain and way she handles that whole scenario is like, wow, this reveals a lot about you just as a human person and like basic human kindness. So I just thought I understand. Carrie's a new lady friend of Logan, and of course there's animosity there. But even just like the jabs that she chooses to take are pretty rough. So I don't know. I thought that I was not a fan of Marsha after this.
No, that makes total sense. I didn't love how she handled Carrie. I loved almost everything else that she did in this episode, though. Uh, but I loved that moment when Roman was helping Carrie, and he was the only
Oh,
one to
dude.
stop and help her
Yes.
with all of her stuff and trying to like, oh, I I don't have your number, but like I'll try and find out what I get. Like he was
Yeah.
trying to make her feel better, and
Yeah.
that was just so sweet of Roman.
This is why he's the best. Because he comes off as like, oh, I don't care, like make snarky comments about everyone, like I'm just here to, mess around. But there's such a like sweetness and kindness and goodness about him. He rushes over when he sees that happening. And I thought it was also interesting that he goes straight up to Marcia right afterwards as well and was like, hey, that was unnecessary. Like we didn't need to do that. Like he's willing to stand up to her as well. So like points for Roman. This is why
Good
Roman's
job,
great.
Roman.
Yes. One of the better humans in this crop.
Yes.
The other little Roman moment that I'll mention that is in contrast to Kendall is um, just his unwillingness to use bad PR about Logan and run his father's reputation through the ringer for the sake of the company. It's not even an option in his mind at all. He has like an utter rejection of it and says, "Don't ever bring such a disgusting idea like this to me ever again." And in contrast, we see that Kendall is so willing to. I think he says something like, this is what my father would have done and would have wanted as well. And it's just a really great deviation between here are these two people that are apparently supposed to be collaborating. They're number one, number two, they're co-leading, but their handling of these situations reveals so much about them as humans for what they're willing to do and not do. And I thought that was just a well written ending to this episode and puts them now on different trajectories for where they're going, what they're set up for, but also like how that ties back to who they are inherently as a human person.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because Roman was closer to Logan in some way, in every way, really, because Kendall and Logan weren't talking there at the end. But Kendall, I think, understands Logan more than Roman ever did. So it's this interesting dichotomy of Roman was closer. He had the relationship, he had the in, but Kendall knows more about Logan's instincts and who he was as a person. And so I think that's also a fun little thing to include here as well. Um, and I love that they couldn't even make it a whole 5 minutes as this like leadership team before one of them stabs the other in the back. I thought that that was also brilliant to not save that move from Kindle until the next episode, but to tee that up for us here so that things are already going crazy and we're only a couple minutes in.
Mm-hmm. And and also what's great about that moment is it's not just that Kendall's willing to push the bad PR out, but also the way that he uses information against Hugo to manipulate Hugo to
Mhm.
doing it for him too, which is such a Logan move, but it's also like not only is he defaming his father's reputation, but he's also okay with and willing to blackmail someone on his team it's part of the crew of the company, to get what he needs to get done, and didn't really blink twice about it. So I thought that was really interesting as well. It really is revealing with which state of mind Kendall is in. He's ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's ready to go all in.
Yep. I'm just like, okay, how badly is this going to end for you? Because it's gonna end badly. I just don't know how badly.
Because it's episode 4. Yeah, I had that
Yeah.
thought too of like, wow, this is happening now. That's noteworthy. So this has time to have the arc to rise and crash and burn. Plenty of time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's gonna be wild.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right. Shall we head into the TVNS awards section? Any other last thoughts about the episode in general?
Nah, let's go to some awards.
Okay. All right. So, first award, best insult. What was your choice? There's a lot of good ones in this episode.
There were a lot of good ones in this one. I'm gonna go for simplicity. When Carl says to Tom, "You are a clumsy interloper, and no one trusts you." I was like, it's
Just so
straightforward,
matter of
to
fact,
the
too.
point. Yeah, it was great. I loved the lead up. Is I'm gonna tell. This is what they would be thinking. I'm telling this to you as a friend, and then he just like blasts him. It was great. I had a great time.
That's great. And the close-ups of uh, Matthew McFadden's face as well. Just so
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
So good. It burns, but he can't show it. So good. Okay, my choice is from Jerry, also at Tom. Oh, you're sick with grief? You might want to put down that fish taco. You're
Yes.
getting your melancholy everywhere.
Yep, I wrote down that one too.
Mm-hmm. It was a great one. It was a great one. Um, Tom, there's a lot of great ones aimed at Tom. There's another really great one from Roman where he's like using his literary creativity yet again.
Yes. Yes, I wrote that one down too. Those were my top 3.
Yes, that one was my second choice as well.
Perfect. And
Tom's
I
the
mean,
punching bag this
Tom
episode.
deserves it because
Yeah,
he
he
was
really does.
out here looking a fool, just being slimy and gross. He deserves all of the insults.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. All right. Second award that we're going to give is who won the episode.
I am going to say that Matson won the episode because
Oh,
he they're going to have to come back, renegotiate the deal. They're in a worse position. And so he can
make
probably
more
get
money.
something even better out of this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Waystar Royco competitors have been winning a lot of awards
Hmm.
the
And
past
I'm not
few
mad at it.
episodes.
They're pretty savvy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy to keep handing them some awards.
My choice for who won the episode is Marsha.
Nice.
She's taking her money and bolting.
Heck yeah, girl.
Sell the
Get it.
apartment. I think it was like 63 million or something.
63 million.
Yeah.
That is insane.
I think they landed on that agreement in about 15 seconds.
They sure
It's
did.
great.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, sounds great. I'll accept the offer. Let's go.
Oh, that was so good too. That was so well done.
Okay, so a lot of power moves. It's probably a little more subtle, but a lot of strategizing happening this episode. What was your choice for best power move?
Marcia coming back.
Oh, yes, she's finished shopping in Milan.
Yeah, man. And just throughout the episode, she would just say certain things to like, so when she told Kendall, like they talked every day
Oh,
and
yeah.
all of those little things that she did to show, like, nope, I am still his wife. I am going to get what I deserve out of this. I was like, yes, you take all your money, do whatever you got to do.
Hmm. This felt a little bit like Knives Out, the beginning of Knives Out, where just people coming out from the woodwork to come and take their piece and take their share. They'll say whatever they need to say. It doesn't even matter what was actually true because the person that can verify is not even here anymore. So yeah, they talked every night. Sure. Okay, Marsha.
Yeah, whatever you say.
Yeah. My choice for best power move is Frank being the emotional support for Kendall and
Nice.
telling him that Logan loved him.
Yes. Good choice.
So subtle, but man, Frank is he's well positioned right now, which good on him. He's got this little alliance with Carl. If that angle works, Carl and Jerry. He also has this little bit of an in and this warm fuzzy feeling going on with Kendall, a little bit like this surrogate father figure. Really, in the episode 3, they have an intimate conversation when Kendall's on the roof of or the deck of the ship, and there's this moment of like support and kind of being there. And I think Kendall, there's something there that's cooking that's going to come back and boomerang.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Frank is pretty savvy, and I'm excited to see what he's working on because he's got
Mm-hmm.
a few irons and a few various fires, and we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. What do we want to see next? Looking ahead, what do you want to see in the next episode?
I I don't know that it'll be in the next episode, but I want to see Shiv just burn it all down. Like there was a point in this episode, like right before her, Kendall, and Roman have that conversation, and they decide Kendall will be CEO, Roman is COO, all of that. And I was just like, you know what, Shiv, you don't need to take this. You can just burn it all down and just walk away and go live your life. And I think that'd be great. So I would love for Shiv to become an agent of chaos and just start destroying things because she is that politically savvy, and hopefully she's pissed enough to just start wreaking some havoc. I think that'd be fun.
I have a similar thought. I have on here my notes for this question. Shiv retaliate.
Yes.
But l- slightly different in that I just want to see her outsmart
Mm,
everyone else. I think she's
yeah.
capable of it.
Oh, absolutely.
She's worked in politics. She knows how all of these people think and how they work, and I think she has a unique angle with knowing how to craft narratives for the public consumption, and I don't think some of these other folks have as much of that like savviness that she does. She's also just sharp enough to think outside of the box. So I would love to see her just outsmart a lot of these folks. That'd be great.
Hmm. Yeah, that would be great.
And
And
use
then,
Tom along the way.
yes, kick Tom to the curb.
Or use him.
I mean, use him and then kick him to the curb.
Oh, yes.
That's fine because
Sure,
he
that too.
uses everybody else. So
Mhm.
why not use him and then lose him? That's
Yeah,
great.
what I think is interesting too is that she's kind of in a down spot right now, emotionally and like strategically on the game board, which I think will be potentially well positioned for her to rise over the course of the next couple episodes.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
nobody will see it coming.
yep, yeah. Other things that you want to see?
I'm still so curious about Carrie
Mm-hmm.
because they seem to be positioning her like she has something. She has some leverage. She has some bomb that she's going to drop. There's something with her that they are gearing up for, and I am very interested in what that could be.
I had a similar thought when they had that interaction between her and Roman. Like, maybe it's just a character moment for Roman, but maybe there's some partnership, collaboration that eventually these two can figure out where there might be something that Carrie has that Roman can use to play in this game. Roman's kind of a wild card at this point. He's kind of playing this game with Kendall and going with the flow. He does what he always does, which is just kind of like go with the flow, let this unfold, and when the moment is right, figure out when he can strike. Um, so I wonder if there's any plot line happening with Carrie, and especially that bit around like here, let me give you my private number, which do we have other kinds of numbers? Apparently these people do. But
I mean, when you have that kind of money, hello.
Take my private number. Um, yeah, I wonder if there's something there.
And I'm curious with that piece of paper, because when I think it was just Frank and Carl talking, they one of them said something to the effect of like, I don't want her to screw it up. And there's a few hers that it could be. And at first I
Oh, I
thought it
thought it
was
was Jerry.
Shiv, but then I
Oh.
thought it was Jerry,
Mhm.
and then I wondered if it was Carrie. So I'm like, okay, what is going on here? That's also why I was like, okay, what was on that paper that maybe wasn't on the copy that got shown to everybody? Did it
That Carrie.
reference one of these
Mm,
women?
mm.
So I don't know. I feel like they're setting up some things and they're leaving us a trail of breadcrumbs, and we're just like with our magnifying glass meticulously inspecting every breadcrumb to try and figure out what's going to happen next, and it's great. It's so fun.
I can see you with your mystery loving brain just eating this all up. I see it happening. Your wheels are turning. You're like, oh, all these theories and hypotheses.
Hmm.
This
I'm
is
trying to
Succession, a
find
Knives
clues.
Out mystery.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely it is.
yeah. That's the second thing that I jotted down here is I'm intrigued to see what this other crew is cooking up because this episode they've conceded this battle. You know, they've played along. Okay, sure, Kendall, Roman, take it for now, take the interim role. But I'm excited to see what they will do and how they will strike. I think there's lots that's going to unfold.
Hmm. Yep, they have always been pivotal parts of this and like strong supporting cast members. And so it's going to be interesting to see where they go. I don't know.
Yep.
Anything can happen.
This is the episode 7 of the Star Wars universe for Succession.
Hmm. Yes.
Let's regroup. Let's
Yes.
lay some foundations,
Yeah.
and then we go and build. And
Get
hopefully we
ready.
get the Last Jedi version of what's going to happen next, which is just let's blow it all up, apparently. Do everything differently.
Yeah. Why not? Let's do
Yeah.
something new. Let's do
Mhm.
something unexpected
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we've already been surprised once this season. So let's keep the surprises going.
We're not even halfway through the season. Isn't that wild?
That's so crazy.
There's so
So
much
much
more.
has happened in
Yeah.
4 episodes. What else could they possibly do?
Yeah, the Stewie and Sandy are kind of in this mix as well, and I don't know, just interesting color, interesting game pieces. Could be on the peripherals.
Hmm.
Maybe
Yeah,
they'll play a role somehow.
I hope so because I get a kick out of Stewie and Sandy,
Me too.
so I think they're fun.
They're just purely optimizing for like outcome.
Yeah,
They
and
don't
that
care. No
that
emotional ties.
exchange between Stewie and Kendall was so good. Where Stewie was like, "Well, like what's in it for me?" It's like, yes, that's on brand for this character.
It's great. It's great because the siblings and the rest of the crew kind of need to do this dance a little bit, you know, and they have these like emotional strings attached to stuff related to Logan and all this and each other. Stewie's just here to optimize. Give me the best outcome. Give me the best deal, and I'll take it and leave. And I'm out.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, do what you got to do, Stewie.
Yeah. Okay. Any other last thoughts before we wrap?
Yeah, the other thing that I would like to see is Logan's brother, Greg's grandpa, right? Or
Ah,
whoever he
yes.
is. I want him to come back into the
Ewan.
fold and
Hmm.
see what chaos he causes because he's so different from this whole group and has made a very vocal stand against Logan and everything he stood for. And so I wonder if he will come back in some way,
Mm-hmm.
somehow.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I forgot about him. Especially there's like a Greg mentions him in this episode briefly in a
Yes.
conversation as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's teeing up his dramatic return.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. Lots of game pieces. All right. Well, this is our review and discussion of episode 4. You can find it available on HBO Max. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of TV and Us. Our name sums it up. We're big fans of TV and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories. Everyone is welcome here, and we're so glad you hung out with us today as we continue our journey through Succession Season 4. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you tune into your favorite shows. Drop us a review letting us know your thoughts about episode 4 of Succession. You can connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at tvnspod or email us at tvnspod@gmail.com. We'll be back next week to discuss episode 5 and see how this game board continues to shift around. We hope you have an amazing week, and we'll talk again soon.